Thanks for logging on to the Week 9 edition of Inside the Zone alongside Tom Davis of the News Sentinel. I'm Glenn Marini, and this is the final week of regular season football here in Northeast Indiana and throughout the state. And that means it's time to take a look at some of the conference races. Some have been decided, some will go down to this final week. And first off, we start in the SAC, where the championship has been crowned. The Bishop Dwenger Saints, by beating Snyder this past week, 10-zip. They're the champions. You were at that game. Tell me what you saw in it.
I saw a lot of mud is what I saw. Really too bad that neither offense could get on track with the field conditions the way they were. And it sounds like it might be a similar environment this coming Friday. But give credit to the Dwenger defense for really stepping up and shutting out Snyder for the first time, I want to say, in 121 games. It was the first time Snyder had been shut out. Dwenger was able to get the early field goal and then a clinching touchdown by Wade Markley late to seal the deal. But give credit to Dwenger. They played really well defensively, and Snyder did as well. But given the field conditions, it was just hard to get anything done.
Yeah, given the field conditions, obviously, if it was played perhaps on a different night where it wasn't quite so muddy and there wasn't that trough down the middle at Spooler Stadium, would you see this game playing out differently, or would you ultimately see Dwenger pulling ahead? Because I know you picked Snyder coming into this game.
Yes, I did pick Snyder. I don't know if it would be much different. I think Dwenger could easily win the game as well. But I could see Snyder doing it also. The key, though, is Snyder would have to minimize their turnovers. They had 5 fumbles the other night. They recovered 3, lost 3 of them, but so they'd have to take better care of the ball. But yeah, it would have been a totally different game. Dwenger would have passed more. Maybe Snyder would have passed some. But you know, it is what it is, and so give credit to Dwenger. They got it done.
Yeah, because the SAC has different rules on co-championships, and the fact that they don't have co-champions. Dwenger 8-0. Southside has 1 loss. Snyder has 2 losses. Even if Southside were to win this week and Dwenger were to lose, Dwenger would still be the conference champ. So they are the SAC champs.
The 4th straight.
4th straight. Did this year's SAC schedule shake out like you thought? Because it's going to end up, most likely, you're going to see Dwenger at the top, followed by South, followed by Snyder, and then Wayne, because Snyder and Wayne are going to battle it out this week.
Well, I think Wayne and Southside shocked people. People probably thought that they were going to be middle-of-the-pack teams, and Wayne's going to end up being that way, but Southside's season has been really out of the blue. I know they got some things done last year, but boy, I don't think anybody saw 1 loss in conference play this year. The win that really surprised people was winning against Snyder on Snyder's home field, and so that probably shocked people. People probably thought a little bit more of Harding would get some stuff done this year as well, and they're a middle-of-the-pack team as well. And Lures was down this year. A lot of people thought they would be, but down to this degree, that surprised people. So those are some of the surprises that ended up happening this year.
And you want to talk about big surprises? Let's take a look at the NHC, because I think we all thought, it was Homestead's conference to win. They would go into Norwell and likely take care of business, but on a very rainy, a very wet, a very muddy Friday night, it's the Knights coming up 21-7 to really throw a monkey wrench in what people expected from that conference, because now you've got Norwell and Homestead tied for the top with 1 conference loss each.
Right. The mud really slowed down the offense, but I tell you, I thought that Homestead's defense was still good enough to slow Norwell's running game down. Obviously, it wasn't. Clay Fichter ran for over 200 yards. They had outrushed him like 262 to 99. So they dominated running the ball, and that really surprised me a great deal. I thought Homestead was more balanced than what they showed. Now, Homestead still could win the conference crown if Norwell loses against Columbia City and Homestead beats New Haven, neither of which is a gimme. So there's a whole lot of football still to be played, even though it's 1 week. But, yeah, that was a shock that Norwell was able to dominate the way they were.
Yeah, and you mentioned it all comes down to this week. If one team wins and the other team loses, the team that wins gets the championship. Which is more likely, Norwell to lose at Columbia City or Homestead to lose at New Haven?
I think neither is likely, to be honest with you. I think Norwell and Homestead both win. But if I had to pick one game, I would say New Haven has a better chance of beating Homestead than maybe Columbia City does of beating Norwell, especially as emotionally high as Norwell is right now. They're really confident. They feel that they can beat anybody, especially after after beating Homestead. What's even more surprising about the Homestead loss was they got their head coach back last week, who had been dealing with some personal issues with his ill daughter. And so I really thought the Spartans would just be fired up and come out, be ready to go last week, and obviously Norwell took it to them.
When you take a look at Norwell from last year, Jeff Miller's team was just 2-8, and they had 3 wins by week 3, so they surpassed that very early in the season. How much of a surprise have they been? We knew Fichter was going to be a stud coming into this season, but even much more so to be competing for a conference championship here in week 9.
Oh, it's very surprising. You always want to see growth in a program, and I'm sure they went into this season feeling that they could take a step forward, but this was a giant leap forward. But it does show you if you play good defense and you can run the ball, then good things can happen. And, they recovered from an early season loss to Belmont, and they're a confident group now. So it wasn't just a step forward for this program, it was a giant leap.
You see this as at the end of this week, co-NHC champs.
Yes, I think they'll both finish with 1 loss, and then they'll share the title.
I definitely agree with you.